Hey guys, for anyone who doesn't know me, I'm Srtty, a 2227 LP peak top laner who played LCS for Dignitas and Lion in 2025. I also am the only player to ever reach 100% win rate Grandmaster and 1000 LP with sub 10 losses. Over the last 3 days, I've played 20 games as Zahen in high challenger versus pros and one tricks on my main, and averaged about a 70% win rate overall. And I thought I'd make a quick guide because everybody was asking me in my Twitch chat, so here we go. In this guide, I'm going to outline what I believe to be the best runes, summoners, items, combos, and general information about the champion, as well as including a matchup difficulty tier list near the end. Zahen is a melee bruiser who thrives on teamfights and skirmishes with a moderately weak early game and insane mid to late game scaling. He is incredibly broken right now, spouting a 52% win rate across the board after only 3 days since release. Zahen is a monstrous teamfighter and able to hold his own in almost all matchups and skirmishes due to his high amount of CC and sustain, which makes him incredibly versatile in all different scenarios, and provides agency to the player within the game. Zahen's first trading combo, which is utilized in order to get quick poke before backing away, is to first use a Q1 on a minion, then E towards the enemy with your knockup, charged, hitting them both with your E and then the Q2 auto. If the enemy is close to you, after your E you can also weave an auto into the E animation. After that, you will then begin disengaging, before they can fight back during the knockup. Zahen's second trading combo uses his W to increase his DPS, but is contingent on landing the skill shot to start the trade. In this combo, you'll W, auto, Q1, E, auto, Q2, and walk away during the knockup again so you can wait for your cooldowns to refresh. This combo is best used against champions who don't have a good way to gap close onto you after you go in, or characters you beat in the all-in, as it leaves you without the tools necessary to escape. Zahen's first all-in combo, used mainly against melee characters, is E, auto, Q1, W, auto, Q2, auto, then ult. This combo maximizes your damage, but can only be used if you're within E range to start the trade. Zahen's second all-in combo is auto, Q1, E, auto, Q2, W, ult. This is used primarily versus melee characters as it relies on you being in range of your enemies from the start, but it is the highest DPS of the three. Zahen has some interesting combos you can do to catch your enemies off guard in game, and I'll be listing one for each ability here in this section. For Zahen's Q, you are able to begin charging your Q2 ahead of time to flash in like a Renekton or Xin Zhao and catch out an enemy carry. This is impossible to react to and will win you tons of games in teamfights. A mechanic for his W is that you're able to W flash. This is a similar role to Q2 flash, but is AoE and can hit multiple enemies. The drawback to this is it has a cast time, which is flashable if the enemy is good. You can E-flash, but I would not recommend it as the window is extremely small and nearly impossible to pull off. I've tried it 10 to 15 times and maybe only got it 4 or 5. Other things that you can do with his E are short E's to speed up the cast time or using a wall to cancel it entirely. For runes, I think Conqueror is by far his most versatile and best keystone. I experimented with Grasp for short trading, and I've seen people use PTA due to how it can proc it on just his auto and Q1, as well as utilizing Halo Blades and Phase Rush in ranged matchups to make up for how kiteable you are, or help proc your passive faster. But I think these options are 95% of the time just worse, and to make it simple, I'm going to recommend to just use Conqueror every game. When using Conqueror, you should never take presence in mind. Your mana issues are not real if you aren't spamming your spells without intention. Triumph is a great option for teamfights, and Absorb Life can be good in some of the harder range matchups for a little extra sustain. After that, I like a Malacrity more than Haste due to how easy it makes stacking his passive up in mid-game skirmishes, and Last Stand is an absolute must due to how Zahen's kit works. Bruisers love the damage app at low HP, and Zahen is absolutely no different. For the secondary tree, I don't think Domination or Sorcery are worth even considering. I think your best option is to do Resolve by far, due to how it gives you access to the combination of Unflinching, Revitalize, Second Wind, Bone Plating and Demolish in any order, which all synergize extremely well with Zahen's identity. Another option is Inspiration and doing any combination of Cashback, Free Boots, Triple Tonic, Biscuits, and Cosmic Insight. I think the Inspiration approach has a higher upside as the game goes on, but it's much worse in the early game, so you should only go it if you're confident. And all of these minor nodes are dependent on your matchup or the game state, so it's hard for me to give general recommendations. Your minor shards should always be double adaptive and flat or scaling HP depending on the volatility of your matchup. due to how you have access to auto resets in your kit, so attack speed is not as important. For the health shard, if you're versus a tank, you can feel free to go scaling HP in the early game, but if you are versus a ranged champion or a bruiser, the extra health from the flat HP shard will be very valuable. For summoner spells, I'm going Flash TP every single game. Coming from Pro, I think Teleport is absolutely busted due to its versatility and the control it gives you over the map. In volatile bruiser matchups, if you don't like to go TP, you can go Ignite. Examples of these are Darius and Olaf, as it helps you all in. And you can consider Ghost with Flash into range if you again don't want to go the teleport route. As for Flash, this gives you access to W Flash, Q2 Flash, and tons of other variations of your combos and applies so much threat in fights to the enemy. As a result, I think it's a must take and you're trolling if you don't go it. Triforce is, in my opinion, Zahen's best all-round item. Zahen benefits heavily from all stats on the item and loves Sheen due to his Q functioning similar to Camille's and giving 2 procs. However, you have alternative first items depending on your matchup. Cleaver is probably the best rush into tanks, and it's Zahen's favorite stat stick. He absolutely loves health and AD, and his Q can apply multiple stacks of Cleaver on Q1. Into ranged champions like Vayne and Kennen, Stride Breaker is likely your best bet. It lets you stay on top of them and clears waves faster, with Tiamat preventing you from being poked down. Something that I have seen a Korean Zahen do, but I haven't personally tested, is also Stunted Skyrush. The build path is mediocre, but the insane passive and great stats are something that Zahen absolutely loves. I think it's better as a second item though. And finally, Iceborne. This is an option into ranged AD champs to help stick onto them as you stat check them if you get armor due to your natural AD steroid. However, I think outside of a matchup like Chase, it probably isn't very viable. For boots, your only 2 realistic options are Tabbies and Mercs. You shouldn't go any of the other ones as Zahen doesn't really like their stats, and these defensive options give them the most value. For full build, you should do your situational first item depending on your matchup in the game state into Sundered Sky, Bloodmail or Sterix, then DD or Visage, and a situational tank item or a leftover AD item you didn't end up going earlier. Zahen spikes extremely hard in his 1 item completion in isolated 1v1s, getting stronger with each subsequent item completion as the game goes on. From 2 items onward, you become a complete menace in teamfights, and Sundered Sky is your biggest teamfight spike in the game, so once you pick up this item, feel free to rock up to any skirmish and just dominate. During the early game, you need to prioritize maintaining economy and reaching these spikes, as you are a slow stat-reliant bruiser, and going below the in-game economy curve will hurt you a ton. Properly skirmishing on Zahen revolves around stacking a passive similarly to a Darius on the outskirts of a fight before jumping in once you have sufficient stacks. You can make a lot of space in teamfights, but your real power comes from abusing the hugely overtuned AD steroid on your passive to clean up and decimate fights. If you go in first, you'll need to be willing to cast your ultimate early. It can give multiple stacks on AoE, and it's much better to use it early than too late, as it is your main tool to avoid being one-shot due to the unstoppable and damage reduction. Without it, you can be quite vulnerable to groups in CC. Here's my tentative and subject to change Zahen matchup tier list based on my personal opinion. I believe Zahen struggles into range characters with high mobility and stronger juggernauts who can beat you in the all-in. With that said, all matchups are playable if you're good at Zahen in his current state. If I had to recommend a ban, I would say one of Jax, Vayne, Quinn, Olaf, or Irelia, based on how common they are in the MMR range you play in and which frustrates you the most. With that, this is the end of my Zahen guide. I stream every day on Twitch at Srtty_lol, and I'm currently rank 8 playing Zahen to rank 1 on the NA server, so stop by if you have any questions. In the future, I'll be releasing more in-depth matchup guides for Zahen as well. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and thank you for watching.